Call this Toledo City Council regular meeting for February 19th, 2025 to order. First item, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There we go. Now I know. All right, I will take a roll call. Councilor Kaufman.
Here.
Councilor Sylvia.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Mix.
Here.
Councilor Burns.
Here.
Councilor Keating.
Here.
Council President Bush is excused, and I am here. We have 6. We have a quorum. We can do business. First up, a presentation on wildfire information and map. John Mix.
Actually, isn't a visitor comment first?
No, that's
Nope,
after.
she put the presentations up first.
Okay,
So we're doing the presentations first.
okay, sorry.
Oh my. It's when you think you know.
All right, hello, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Jonathan Mix. I live in Toledo. I've been a firefighter for 29 years, including volunteering at Toledo for 4 years. Currently, I'm a wild and engine captain for a federal contractor and a self-employed contractor. With the recent fires in Southern California and the dry weather patterns in our area, I figured I'd give you an update and my opinion on the state's effort to generate a wildfire risk map. Let's see. Oregon State University researchers worked with the national's leading fire modeling and local subject matter experts to develop the Oregon State Wildfire Hazard Map. The purpose of the map is to identify where wildfires pose the most hazard to structures and other human developments. Similar methods are being used across the nation to support strategic wildfire risk reduction programs. As a science-based tool, the Wildfire Hazard Map and related data will help state agencies and individuals objectively prioritize risk mitigation actions in Oregon communities. To create the Wildfire Hazard Map, OSU researchers combined 2 primary data sets, burn probability and fire intensity. Both were modeled across Oregon using the best available data and with the help of state and local fire professionals. Burn probability and fire intensity are based on 4 criteria: climate, weather, topography, and visitation. Data regarding these criteria were combined with data from historical fires and simulations of 10,000 plus plausible fire seasons, accounting for fire likelihood and intensity under everything from mild to severe fire weather. As you can see in the legend, you have 3 categories: high, moderate, and low, with most of the state being. Did I send you pictures of the map?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, if you could throw those up there. Let's see. Unfortunately, we are mostly in the low category with the surrounding area in moderate. In other words, by using average humidity, temperatures, fuel loading, annual weather patterns, exposures, and aspects such as topography, we can estimate the likelihood of wildfires in the area and mitigate the fuel loading to reduce the potential loss of homes. It's my opinion that this is a helpful and just one version. Not necessarily the best, like anything, there's room for improvement. So that's the whole state. I have pictures to where you could like zoom in and see Lincoln County.
It's on the next page.
Yeah,
That's
that's like Lincoln County. You can see the purple is the moderate and green is low. And then the next one should be Toledo, if you just scroll down. Yeah. So the blue, green, and Toledo. Cities, surrounding area is just moderate. For the most part, we're good. But I don't think, one thing they didn't consider is structures are fuel. So they just look at that as wildfire, not necessarily like down in California, it was just houses burning.
Right.
So that's one thing to consider. I just wanted to share that with you guys. Down the bottom, there's a couple of links. All the way down. One is for actual Oregon wildfire risk explorer. You can see the map there, and then I got some of this stuff from the OSU stuff, was from understanding the map that. On that bottom. So if you wanna go check it out. Oh,
So can people, for next, can people look up their own residence on there through one of those interactive,
yes.
they can like put in their address. It'll tell them what place they're at based on this state mapping.
Yes. You can see individual properties. It's kind of generalized, so, like I said, it's not perfect, we're still working on it. We're in the green, so we're good to go.
Thank you, John.
I have a question, John. So, because I'm not a firefighter,
Yes.
we're okay then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
According to that map, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
In
yeah, yeah.
reality, I don't.
Okay.
So,
No crystal ball.
well, for example, the Otis fires,
Yes.
okay? That was an event that we haven't seen in a long time on the coast. Okay. And well, hopefully it will take another, how many years was it between the Tillamook burn and the Otis fire? Let's hope it'll be that long again.
At least.
Okay. So,
Yeah, so historically, there was a fire, I believe it was 1868 or something like that. It started in Purple Woods and went all the way to the beach, and past Toledo and didn't hit Toledo. And it went all the way to where the lighthouse is.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah,
wow.
it was just logging, all the logging slash, because they had log.
All it takes.
John,
Thank you, John. Our next presentation is from Dull Disposal Service Outreach Manager, Dave Larma.
Mayor, councilors, how are you tonight?
No.
Thanks for having me. We're here tonight to talk about some DEQ paperwork that we're requesting your approval on. And I'll sort of blaze through this quickly if as I get sidetracked. Okay, so we've been in front of you a couple times before talking about recycling expansion program that's going across the state. The idea is to get everyone across the state to use the same list of recycling for the mixed recycling that's collected at the curb. Some parts of the state, they don't collect at all curbside. Some folks are only doing a limited list. Some folks only have a regional depot network. So we're pretty good on the services end, but the program is statewide and it's going to cost a lot of money to stabilize recycling system. On the back end, there's a lot of work being done to provide money to the sorting facilities and oversight on the marketing of materials, which is really one of the big concerns from an environmental perspective. Where is this material going, especially if it's going overseas? Is it really getting used for what it's being claimed for? And so this whole program is going to be funded by the folks that make the products and packaging. And the cost of the program will be baked into the cost of consumer goods going forward. For the most part, we're talking about like tenths of pennies. But it is in there. Nothing's free in this world. As you guys have probably experienced with other government things, there's a whole bunch of acronyms This list is just the different entities that are involved. So RMA is the act itself. Expanded producer responsibility is the idea that folks that make a product should have a hand in financing the end of life disposal. We already have programs like this in place for mattresses and paint and electronics. Mattress one just started here at the beginning of the year. So the details of those programs can be quite different, but the basic idea is the same. There's a producer responsibility organization. So the producers have to create a nonprofit and staff it. And the reason for that is Walmart and Target, I'm sure, would love to know how many of each different product they sell, but they don't want each other to know. So there has to be sort of a neutral party where they can submit all of their sales and procurement data. And then that organization can run it through their formulas and figure out how much each organization owes in fees into the program. And then also supervise the distribution of the monies out to the different parts of the program on the other end. So that's a PRO. And then Circular Action Associates is the consulting group that was hired to run the program in the state of Oregon. So CAA is the PRO for the RMA.
Oh, God.
And it's all supervised by DEQ.
Oh, shoot.
So
Is that repeated, Jackie?
that's why it's on the slide, just in case. I bring it with me everywhere. So there are a few things on the paper part of the list. Again, this first part is all things that will take mixed together in your cart at the curb. New things for paper are milk cartons and what they call aseptic packaging. So you see a lot of it with alternative milks, beef broth, that sort of thing. Kids and drink boxes are in that same category. Tissue paper, the kind for gift bags, not the kind for your face. And then non-metallized gift wrap without ribbons or bows. Those are new paper items. And the second page is nothing new. It's just things that are also on the list. I should point out paperback books and telephone directories are technically accepted now. I don't remember the last time I held a telephone directory myself, but
Oh, I have some.
they are still out there. Remember when you used to go to the library and be like a whole section for the phone books from other towns?
The U-line catalogs. Those are the ones. Those are what we
There you
still
go.
get.
Yes. yes.
Okay, and so the next page is plastics. So there are lots of changes to plastics. As far as our program is concerned, so the dairy tubs and cups that are, well, the pictures, you can't really see the pictures too well, but we're talking about yogurt cups and margarine and the other plastic tubs.
So you're gonna make me go buy real Tupperware now?
No,
I'll snap it.
but Tupperware is on the list now. So the larger plastic buckets, pails, and storage containers, other bulky, large plastic container type items are on the list. And the nursery pots, it's really specifically, at least for now, the pots themselves. I know there's trays and there's plastic ground cover things. There's lots of other plastic things that you could buy in the garden section. But at least right now, they're starting off with just the pots. This is one of the reasons, these bulky plastics, one of the reasons why why some folks may need to switch up to a larger cart for us, because we're collecting more materials and some of them are big, so that depending on what kind of materials you're producing at your home or business, you may need a larger cart. Okay, so the text, I guess it's cut off. So what we've talked about already is what will be accepted mixed in the curb in your cart. The PRO is also responsible for
providing recycling of some objects that have to be brought in to depots and dropped off. I don't know what happened there, format issue, but every county is required to have a depot of some kind. Every city over 10,000 is required to have what they're calling an enhanced depot. So when you see on these next two slides where it says basic, that's first level, and enhanced is the second level. I don't know why I have people there. I got it down here. So I guess the important thing is that our communities are all smaller than the threshold for requirement. So while we want to participate in this new depot program, take these additional items at drop off, the Bureau isn't required to work with us. So they have to put in a depot in Lincoln City. They have to put one in Newport. They've told us they'd like to put in depots in Toledo and Walport as well, but because it's not one of their required locations, we'll kind of be at the back of the line. They'll get they'll get the mandatory ones out of the way first, then they'll spread out from there. And let's see, what else was I going to say? So I think the interesting things that you might not be recycling at all currently are that we haven't talked about are the lids for the plastic tubs. So the plastic tubs we're putting in the cart, they don't want your lids because when they put them through the sorting facility, the lids act like paper and end up mixed with the paper and contaminate the paper. So they'll be collecting lids separately. They also have these 6-pack holders that you may have seen. Well, they do 6-packs and 4-packs. They're sort of a hard plastic. That plastic is actually the same kind of plastic that milk jugs are made from. So it's number 2 HDPE. So that's one of the more valuable types of plastic. But again, they are flat, so they don't behave themselves inside a sorting facility. The last corner there is polystyrene. So block expanded polystyrene foam. Styrofoam is like a brand name, like Kleenex is a brand name. But that expanded foam, they're having some trouble getting what they call approved end markets for that. So a couple of different companies that did accept that material have stopped or have said we can't don't turn on all of Oregon at the same time. We don't have the capacity to handle that. So they're going to be delaying the styrofoam. But I don't have a date for you on when that'll happen. So there are 5 different funding streams, and we'll go through them here shortly. But July 1st, 2025 is when the fees start getting collected and the payments start going out. Some funds will be available for everyone who qualifies across the state. The transportation subsidy, or I guess reimbursement, and the contamination reduction education money is available to everyone at the same time. All of the other parts of the program, they'll be rolling out, again, trying to meet those mandatory required communities first, and then sort of working their way down. We're kind of at the back of the line, 1, because of our population, and 2, because we already have a curbside collection program. So we're lower down on the priority list. So DEQ wants the producers, CAA, to contract with whoever is providing the service. So for us, there'll be 2 versions of these forms that you'll have to fill out because Dahl and Dahl, the transfer station, is a different company than the company that pays the drivers and drives the trucks around to your house is picking up the material. So they're 2 separate companies. So there'll be 2 sets of forms. And then, so these forms that we're talking about are a series of Excel spreadsheets, and they're all linked together, and the information you put into one tab become the options available to you on subsequent tabs. So we won't make you sit through all of that, but There are 5 different sources of funds that are available to us. Transportation is intended to cover the costs of delivering material from wherever you're collecting it, in our case Toledo, to where it's being sorted. For the most part, for our material, that means International Paper in Eugene. But the next closest facility is Salem, and then the Portland area for the rest of them. Contamination evaluation is where they basically are going to pay experts with clipboards to watch the recycling as it's coming in, identify problems that they see. It's like, oh, we're getting a lot of people using bags for the recycling. I'll say, okay, so then the next round of education will be informed by that. We'll be promoting people, hey, don't put your recycling in bags. And then they'll monitor again and see if that's still a problem. Okay, and if that problem has gone away, they'll move on to whatever the next problem is. So that evaluation process will be ongoing, and it'll feed the contamination reduction education. Collection containers, again, we mentioned maybe we would be getting some larger carts for some customers. It's about half of our customers have a 90-gallon cart or 95-gallon cart already for recycling. The other half have a 65-gallon cart. When the program first started here, everybody had a 65-gallon cart. With those, as I mentioned, with those larger buckets and pails and things being added to the list, some folks might find their 65-gallon carts not big enough. So there would be some money available to us at some point to help us purchase those larger carts. We're going to probably need additional bins at our transfer station recycling depot. Again, we're collecting more materials and some of them are larger, so they will be able to help us purchase those containers. And the service expansion, again, we're at the back of the line for that, but that's really intended to start new programs. So there are communities out there that will be applying for money to buy trucks and buy carts, and in some cases even build the reload facility to get the material out. So they're financing their entire recycling system from this plant. We are not that lucky. Okay, so the producers have to send a report to every jurisdiction they work with saying how much money they sent to us if we're the ones that are providing the service. Whoever's providing the service, the producers will report to their local governments how much money was distributed and for what programs or purposes. And then we will include in our financial reporting a new line item that will be, called something like RMA rebates to expense. So it's not new revenue, but it's a reduction to expense that would help to offset some of any new costs of complying with the new program. So on the forms, again, for the sorry, yes.
I'm sorry. Going back to that, so are these expenses that you have to incur and then they're reimbursed? Or do they get paid for up front and then you have to substantiate it with them?
So that's a good question. And for the most part, these programs are intended to be reimbursements after the fact. There's a few other complications to it. For example, if it isn't our turn yet, if our region or our population size hasn't been there, if we're not at their level yet, they haven't told us it's okay to start. They're not going to give us any money if we go with before they say it's okay.
I was just wondering, because when you said that it was a reduction of expense, to me, that's reimbursement. So that's why I was wondering. I figured that's maybe what.
And there are, again, there's some special hoops you can jump through if your program doesn't have the financing to put all that money out in advance. But most of the payments from our understanding are going to be reimbursements after.
All right, thank you.
Sure. So for each of the 5 funding streams, the city will have to indicate whether you want to do full authorization, which would mean the hauler or transportation, us, me, basically. we're gonna do all the work. City's not gonna do any of the work. All the money that's available should go to Dahl. Partial authorization means that the city's planning to do some of the work itself. And the hauler or someone else is going to do some of the work. And then no authorization would mean the city is planning to do all of the work itself. And that they don't have to authorize anyone else. Most communities are either going to be full authorization, which is my understanding of the case here. But there are folks that'll do partial authorization. Lane County, for example, they own and operate several of the transfer stations. And so some of the other communities that have solid waste staff, they do some of the outreach. So if they chose partial authorization, they would have to explain, well, which parts are going where, or what percentage of the money is that sort of thing. So I'm suggesting, Mark, a full authorization because we're planning to do all. And this is what those that series of spreadsheets eventually rolls up into this. And so we'll need your direction on for each of those 5 streams, whether to choose full, partial, or no authorization. And then we're listed, our 2 different companies are listed there under the authorized service providers. Then there's another form that we have to generate that has our signature on it saying, yes, we really are a real company and we are capable and expecting to do the work that's associated with these. So then Lisa has to package all that up and send it off to DEQ so they can review it. The forms are due by the end of March, but they're encouraging folks to get them submitted early because they want to have time to send them back if for some reason the community didn't understand how to fill out the form, so they left someone out. They have time to fix it and still meet the deadline.
That's something we need to bring to a future meeting.
No, it's up to me. Can you put that last slide up?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's all I had. If anyone has other recycling questions. Anything else?
Any other questions, council?
Thanks. I'll see you back at the voting part.
Yeah. All right, thank you. All right, at this time is time for visitors' public comment. Is there anyone who would like to address council this evening? Oh.
Barry Brewster, I had a quick question. Are we continuing with this format of asking questions before and not being able to comment later on? Like it was in the other meetings?
Well, there's only one other meeting, and no, we're gonna go back to,
Okay,
I'll let you.
perfect, because I left my crystal ball at home and I didn't know what to say.
Anyone else? Anyone online?
If there's anyone who's in attendance online who would like to address the council, please raise your hand electronically and you will be recognized. I do not see any hands raised, Mayor.
Thank you very much. We have no consent agenda this evening. Now we're into discussion, decision items. First item is consideration of funding authorizations for the Recycling Modernization Act. Dave?
It's been so long.
Guess I was hoping for more public comment.
Mike, did you have any comments on this item?
I really don't, Mayor. I think it's consistent with the act.
Is there anyone in the audience, after seeing the presentation, would like to comment to this? Council, any comments? I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to authorize the city staff to sign and submit the necessary forms to the DEQ regarding.
Lisa?
Yes, Lisa.
Can we go through that part of it first?
Okay,
So the section that Mr. Larmuth showed earlier. And I guess City Attorney Adams would be able to answer this if we need to have the council make these selections first before
Oh.
the signatures are approved.
sounds good to me.
Okay.
I take back my motion.
So motion rescinded
I
at
would
the
make,
moment.
I would make a motion. I move to, authorize,
No, she wants us to go through all of those.
oh, those first, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I was gonna cover it in the motion, that's fine, go. I think you're asking if we wanna fully authorize all of them or some of them or none of
Yeah,
them.
Tracy was just gonna make a motion that we fully authorize all
I can't read her mind.
of them. She was gonna cover it in the motion. Would that work?
Would that cover you, Lisa?
Every single one?
If you, I think if you choose full authorization for each of the 5 funding streams for both companies, you can do it all as one motion, in my opinion. Otherwise, we're gonna do 10.
And I'm just asking for consensus from the council, but can they fully authorize all 5 items? I don't know how.
I give my consensus.
So physically, yes, we'll have to go through and check the boxes on the
On
spreadsheet.
the form, correct, but a motion could direct them to do that, correct, staff to do that, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if council wants to fully going through transportation, they're going to fully authorize contamination, fully authorize contamination reduction, fully authorize. Is that my understanding?
Yes.
Okay.
so Jackie,
You're up.
the ball's been punted back to you. So just change the way you worded that.
Oh. Make a motion to authorize city staff to sign and submit the necessary forms to DEQ regarding tall and install.
In all 5 areas.
For full authorization in all 5 areas.
Second that.
Okay, let me get this written down.
Jeez. I thought we covered that. We
Mm.
agreed to mark them all.
Yep.
I'm on Lisa's side. I'm not,
Tracy should. Yeah.
never aligned against that.
I tried. I got it done.
Lisa's side is always a good side to be on.
Oh, yeah. It's lost.
I saw that look.
Authorize city staff to sign forms and to submit to DEQ all forms regarding doll with consent to what?
Fully authorize funding streams in regard to the Recycling Modernization Act.
I'm not getting paid enough for this.
Paid it all.
Neither do I.
Yeah,
You can still decline it.
I will.
Okay, so we're transferring to you the authorization to bill, in other words, and to back to you, correct?
Yes.
Try this. The move by Jackie, seconded by Frank, to authorize city staff to sign forms and submit to DEQ regarding Dahl and Dahl to, and we consent to fully authorize them on all of the transfers regarding the RMA.
Oh, you're good.
I'm looking at everybody else here.
It sounds okay to me, fine for how City Attorney Adams.
Say it again.
Authorize city staff to sign forms and submit to DEQ all those forms regarding Dalton. Regarding Dahl and Dahl and consent to fully authorize all transfers of the funds concerning the RMA.
It should be Dahl and Dahl and Dahl.
That's what I said, Dahl and Dahl and Dahl. I tried to separate them out and not make them all triple Dahl.
And if it else, so Dahl Disposal Service is the name of the collection company, and then Dahl and Dahl.
Is that good, Mike?
That
Okay,
works.
Mike says it's good.
I'm happy.
All right. So I will take a roll call vote. Counselor Mix.
I hope so, yeah.
Counselor Burns.
Yes.
Counselor Keating.
Yes.
Counselor Sylvia.
Yes, sir.
Counselor Kaufman.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 6-0. All right, next item.
Forbearance, patience.
Yeah.
Thank you for your forbearance and patience. All right, next item, consideration to lower speed on Northwest Lincoln Way and Northwest and Northeast Skyline Drive. Brian?
Council, Mayor. As you can see, the consideration to lower the speed limit on Northwest Lincoln Way and Northwest/Northeast Skyline Drive. No motion is needed this time. Just ask that the council consider to establish an ordinance to designate a decrease in the speed limit on Northwest Lincoln Way and Northwest/Northeast Skyline Drive from 25 to 20 miles an hour potentially, dependent on the study, but based off the ORS. Background with it is, as you see, there's been no designated speed signs on Northwest Lincoln Way or Skyline over the past 11 years that Google or whatnot can show. So at the minimum, speed signage needs to be posted, but within the ORS, and as long as we go by what ODOT has put forth, we'd like to lower the speed limit to 20 miles an hour with your approval. Please, if you would consider that.
I most wholeheartedly consider it. Council, any comments? No. Would we like staff to bring us back a resolution/ordinance to make this
Yes.
work?
Please do so.
All right, go forth and conquer. Yes, Jim.
Having lived on Lincoln and also Skyline, you know, I think you gotta take into
Yeah,
consideration.
Jim, you gotta come up. I said, need you to come up.
State your name.
Name is Jim Chambers and I live on Aspen Street, which is often Skyline, which is off of Lincoln Way. I think you gotta consider also the volume of traffic that's covering that road. You know, I don't see a traffic count, so I don't approve of lowering it to 20 until you know what the traffic count is on that road and what your incidents are and the amount. I don't mind 25, I think it'd be a great idea. But I don't see what warrants a 20.
What has warranted the 20 are the people going into other people's yards
I know
because they
that.
don't negotiate the corner.
Question how many years? I've lived up there since 84.
Well, we also have more people out walking.
We do.
There's
and I
no
walk there.
sidewalks out there on that section of Lincoln Way. Skyline does not have sidewalks on it.
I realize that.
Okay, it's for pedestrian safety, it's for kids' safety. It's not,
Signs are no good unless there's enforcement behind them. You have the
So-
enforcement to take care of that.
so are you saying, Mr. Chambers, that if we put up signs that say 20 people, we'll just not do it?
I'd say, unless you have enforcement taking track
Well,
of
we
it.
have enforcement on Business Highway 20 and people still don't go 25 on that.
And people don't go 25 on, or 20 on Burgess either, do they?
So what's your opposition to?
I think that people are still accustomed to a 25 mile an hour in a residential zone. Of which, you know, on a road like that, 25% of the people live on one side or more. But to me, people know what a 25 is. 20 is usually reserved for a school zone. So, you know,
And for sharp turns, I mean, even on the Bay Road, where it's
That's not
up to
a speed
45
zone.
miles an hour, there are areas that drop down to 20.
But a curve is not a speed zone.
Well,
A curve
maybe,
is a recommended speed to take that curve.
Sure.
So in other words, I don't mind if you take it, put up the 25, check it out, see what's going on, whether it's enforcing or not. I mean, to me, I don't have a problem with that one bit. But I just think that 20s doesn't, the traffic volume and stuff does not warrant it.
Council?
I have a question. Chief Pace, there have been a couple cars ending up in the driveways. Do we think those people were going faster than 25 miles an hour?
I'd have to look at the accident.
Okay.
Comment on that.
The last one I think also was due to ice or snow, wasn't it?
Yeah.
During the ice and snow, that road is great.
Yes.
But this was before the ice and during the summer. That's your boogie notice.
I'm curious how all this came about. What?
The gentleman who's had a couple cars in his yard came in and asked if we could get signs
Okay,
put up.
okay, thank you for
And-
refreshing my memory.
And for me, I've gone up and spoken to many of the neighbors, especially up on Lincoln Way and up around that area of Skyline. They have no problem with it going down. They would like people to slow down.
Well, it sounds like part of the problem is there's no speed signs posted at all.
No,
Oh.
there's no curb sign. Or there is one curb sign coming from the one direction.
Is that, Brian, we never got any speed signs up there, right? Did we get any speed signs up there at all yet?
No,
No.
locates have been called in, they've been
Okay.
marked, and the locations for the signage have been determined. Like I mentioned, we can put the 25 mile an hour speed zone signage up in the meantime while we get this figured out.
At the bottom of this says that they installed them. Right here it says, Public Works installed speed signs at entry points on Lincoln Way and Northwest Skyline.
For the conversation on November 6th.
There's a verbiage change in there that need to take place. It was based upon, we would make sure we're going by what the ORS states and we can do it legally through ODOT.
Okay.
The signage are still going in the locations that we stated, but we had to wait on locates and also for the concrete set up for the pedestals. Sorry, for the bases.
So the decision we need to make is, do we want to leave it at 25 or do we want to still try to reduce it to?
Signed up for 25 until we get the paperwork done. Get the 25s up.
What if we put the 25s up and then revisited this in, say, a year
Great.
to see whether or not,
Even 6 months.
yeah, I mean, just to see what the feel is and how people are.
Go through all the seasons.
Mr. Mix?
You do a traffic study.
Hey, John, gotta come up.
Expensive.
Hi, Jonathan. I was gonna say, can we do a traffic study on the road? You want to put the little things that you drive over?
They cost money.
No, but we can put you on a stool.
For the clicker.
Clicker.
And a radar.
I don't know.
I'm volunteering him for that
I
night.
The positioning of that position would be safe.
Go for him on a stool?
Yeah, probably.
According to my.
Unless he's sitting in somebody's yard, I would.
Requests for traffic studies are 9 months to a year out.
Whoa.
So the traffic study wouldn't be able to happen before signs got put up anyways. And that was stated at our last meeting.
Mr. Strong wanted to make a comment.
Come on up, Stu.
Stu Strom, past city councilor. I own a property kind of up that way too. And I would suggest that you do the 25 because around town here, it's 25. Am I wrong in the residential area? It's
Most residential.
most of it's 25. So unless there's things that are going on up there, I think 25, because that's what people are used to driving. And I can tell you, there's been people drive by my place on Grant Street and they're doing, 50.
We know.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't see me.
If you want to slow people down, put some speed bumps up there if there's problems.
Thank you, Stu. Well, council? What do you want?
Up to 25 and let's talk about it in a couple of weeks.
I don't think a couple weeks is gonna be able to
No,
give a good.
but if there's enough of us that aren't even interested in doing it, then so we could make that decision whether we're gonna proceed or stop now. It's the next meeting on discussion items.
I would say throw up to 25 for at least for right now.
Yeah. That's what I said.
We gotta do something.
Do we have any sort of a consensus?
25 for now.
Well, how many signs are we talking about, Brian?
I believe it was
It's gonna be more than 2.
6.
Yeah.
You gotta come in from Sunset as well.
Yeah. He's working on it.
Well, then, once the signs are up, then we need to give it some time.
Yeah.
I'd put how many signs first? What do you think, 6?
Oh, that was a guesstimate 6. I got all the information upstairs there.
Okay, so guesstimate of 6 signs. Okay,
Major intersections. For sure.
and it's not a, how do we say this? It is not a easy meandering route to put signs on, so that they're seeable by everybody. So that's why I think the 6 is correct. So do we want to then just make sure the signs get put up, make sure this comes back to us?
Yes.
Okay, and then make sure it comes back to us. What's our timeline? 6 months or a year?
I think a year, but I don't think 6 months is gonna give the residents enough time to get used to it. Suddenly now they have posted speed limit where they probably thought there wasn't one. Or we're hoping there wasn't.
6
And,
months only puts us to August.
Yeah,
You go through the whole season.
it would be go through the whole season. Andrew, you've been awfully quiet.
Well, the enforcement thing is something that I think is interesting too. Is there something, we don't have to necessarily do a traffic study to say, is it possible for us to have somewhat random speed enforcement in an area like this where there have been accidents, there have been concerns, to say, hey, you know what, we're gonna park speed enforcement in this area to actually gauge, are we getting a lot of people who are doing 30, 40, 50 in this area? Because again, we don't have to do a study to do that. We can do it with the enforcement that we already have. So I think revisiting this in 6 to 12 months is a great idea. Let's get the signage posted for the speed limit that should be there already. And maybe utilize the enforcement that we have in place already to gauge whether or not it's a problem.
So how about bring it back at the beginning of the year?
So bring it back January of next year. January
Next
26th.
to all of our seasons.
That work for everyone?
You betcha.
Okay,
And I would just ask Chief Pace, is that something that we could, I don't want to say like set up speed traps, whatever necessarily in a specific area, but is that something that we can?
The terrain does create problems for speed enforcement. There's no sidewalks, there's no way to really pull somebody over or to even pull traffic there. We can do our best.
Thank you.
I know you patrol it.
okay, so is our consensus then, put up the roughly 6 speed limit signs at 25 and bring it back to us in January of 26 or look at it again.
Yes, sir.
About what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay, go forth and conquer. Last item, discussion and possible decision to establish a process to hire an interim city manager. Mike, you want to walk us through this?
For mayor council, I'll just start off by saying that the authority to hold executive sessions, I know that there's probably a interest in doing this in an open session, but 192-662A allows you an executive session to consider the employment of a public officer, employee, staff member, individual agent. However, when you look down at 7, the exception granted by subsection 2A does not apply to the employment of the chief executive officer, other public officers, employees, and staff members of a public body unless the public bodies advertised the vacancy, the public bodies adopted regular hiring procedures. In the case of an officer, the public has had the opportunity to comment on the employment of the officer. And D, in the case of an executive officer, a chief executive officer, the governing bodies adopted hiring standards, criteria, and policy directives in meetings open to the public in which the public has had the opportunity to comment on the standards, criteria, and policy directions. So, in short, I think the interim city man, because that is so burdensome, I won't say in each case. I think there was one situation where we hired an interim where we did go through all of that and post an interim job application. I think there was another one where the council in the past just decided to, in the open session, say, you know, hey, you're the person, and delegate somebody the authority to negotiate a salary.
Interims have been all over the map.
Yeah, I just wanted you to be aware that limitation is there first. The charter that went into effect
December 2nd.
yeah, no, I wasn't searching for the date. I was just deciding whether or not how deep I wanted to go down that rabbit hole. Really, I was gonna come up with some draft questions and learned that our illustrious city recorder had put comments into ChatGPT. And she has compiled a list of draft questions that we could go through. Really, it's the council's decision. Do you want to, you know, when do you want to do interviews?
Next week.
And appoint somebody.
So I would like to make a suggestion that we hold an executive session next week. Say Wednesday, even have it at 5 or 6, depending upon what the council's availability is. Followed by, hopefully, an open session to offer the person through the interview process of the executive session the job.
That does mean that we'll have to advertise the vacancy.
Well, see, this is what I mean. It's been all over the map.
I know, but I'm just saying to use that authority for an executive session, to do it out of the public, we have to put a job description out there, advertise the vacancy.
Why do we have to do that? We
This is
don't need
what I'm
to. We
getting
should
at.
do it in the public. We're under too much scrutiny.
Right.
I understand that, but know what that means. All of you.
And what does it mean, Rod?
It literally means we're gonna put those people up on Zoom, if nothing else, and we've got to grow them. And understand that if we advertise, then we're going to get applications that we're gonna have to look at and go, no, 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 yes, maybe, no. Because this is what happens when we've done this before. That's what I mean. We've been all over the map with this process, with different attorneys telling us different things. And that's why I wanted to get something clear here. Because I don't know if there's a standard way to do this or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
For an interim?
I wouldn't say there's a standard way to do it. I would say before you have an executive session, you do need to jump through those hoops, though.
So if we were to bring candidates here, so I don't think that it got distributed to the entire council, but I had an email provided some suggestions for how this might go. Recognizing that we're looking at a couple of candidate resumes here in front of us already. The interviews should absolutely happen in the public eye. I think that deliberation by council, I would imagine we could have some sort of executive session in which we deliberate following the interviews, but then appoint in public session. So if we were to recess the public meeting, have an executive session to
I
discuss.
don't think we could do that because we've done everything in the public eye. Sure.
And that's fine too.
Just, you know.
But I think that rather than necessarily drilling, one option that we could do is we could come up with a set of questions that we provide in advance. They could either,
We always have.
sorry,
I think we always have.
and then we simply ask them that series of questions. Everybody gets the same questions, everybody has the same
We always have.
opportunities.
Yep.
I think that we deliberate and then we make an offer to one of them, but I think it happens in the public eye. I think we can do that all next week. I don't think it has to take that long to get this done.
We're not required to interview every applicant, are we? I mean, ever apply for a job and submit resumes and.
Right now, I think the 3 resumes that the council have are people that have basically reached out to LOC and they're willing to step in as interims
And
for an indefinite period of time to serve as city manager, and that's kind of what they're doing in their retirement.
Okay, got it. So that's different than.
Well, that's
So we have a choice.
why I'm asking.
Yeah.
But I also, one important question here is, are any of these candidates residents of Lincoln County?
You don't
No,
have to
we don't
be a
have-
resident for an interim.
That's for an interim.
They do.
No,
We've
not
received that advice from our city attorney. That it does need to be, that there is no distinction
Oh,
for the
really?
residency requirement.
Is that true?
Is that true?
I don't think there is a distinction.
Okay.
You've got to be joking.
He's told us this in writing.
The city manager pro tem has the authorities and duties of the city manager, except a city manager pro tem may appoint or remove employees only with council approval. And everything else uses city manager throughout the entire charter language,
So can we,
Somebody can- we can have any of these.
including subsection C that I started to go into.
I'm not trying to create a problem.
No, no.
Well, you
I'm trying to avoid
have, so here, instead of creating a problem, right, instead of throwing a grenade in, say at the time of hire, do they have to have a residence in Lincoln County? Would that satisfy the rule?
Well, that's
I
what you
appreciate the
asked.
explanation though, Mayor, because I get the background of it now where I wouldn't necessarily have.
Well, because what I'm
So
asking is,
Can we change the charter now? Because
not
it's
without a
thing-
vote of the people, and the soonest we can do that is May.
Okay,
It has to go to the unitarian business order, it has to go to the people.
forgot about that.
If at the time of taking the job, there are a resident of Lincoln County, does that fulfill the charter?
So the charter says the city manager need not be a resident of the city or of the state at the time of appointment and not be required to reside in the city. However, must reside
Within Lincoln County.
I thought we put in that within our first year.
So in our new city charter, which is effective now, it doesn't specify a specific window of time. So I don't know the answer to this. But I want to make sure that we're not appointing somebody that creates a liability
Yeah.
because we didn't follow our charter.
But that's my, okay. When we offer someone the job, and generally they're going to negotiation. And part of what you can do in negotiation, as part of what the city can do, is maybe get them a residence. That might be part of the negotiation.
That doesn't make them a resident. If it's a second home or just a place where they go to work, if they still keep another
So
residence elsewhere. it
we're
would
gonna
not.
hold, then folks, there's only
It
one.
says must reside, not residency.
So
I'm
that's why I'm
thinking-
asking the question.
So I'm not thinking it's like voters where you have to have lived here for a year. Because it says must reside.
That if we were to put them up in a rental for the time that they are.
Yes, or if they brought a fifth wheel over and parked it somewhere.
So that works,
So I'd say,
because otherwise you just narrowed our pool down to one, and he's currently working in Crestwell.
yeah.
But
that means-
Their ass in my, or their butts in my driveway.
Well,
Thank you,
that
Frank.
means that's a question that we're asking as part of the interview as well, that willingness to reside here or the ability to reside here for the time that they are serving.
So. Consider for this process.
I think we've considered most of the issues. Maybe if we go into questions. I
So
guess-
currently our process is have a meeting next Wednesday, 6 PM to interview and possibly appoint. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a way to post a job very quickly and come up with 5 or 6 criteria. We're gonna weigh professionalism, past experience, come up with those 5 or 6 criteria, come up with the questions and do an executive session. You're just gonna have a real short window on the application process.
That's what I was
That could
gonna
leave
ask.
us- That could leave us up for liability. Posting a job, and if they can't apply fast enough, or we don't interview them, then we appoint somebody else before they've even had a chance.
If we're only considering the 3 that we received through League of Oregon Cities, if we're doing it all in the public eye, we don't necessarily need to worry about the process of posting the job, doing executive
No.
session. And it seems, I don't, from what I'm hearing across the board here, it's not necessarily something that we want to have an executive session to do this in. I think we're all comfortable with doing it in the public
That's
eye.
fine.
I don't care.
So I think, what is the process? What is the recommended process here if we are doing this in the public setting? Can't we just take these 3 applicants, invite them to come to the next meeting, and we work now to come up with what our list of questions is going to be?
Absolutely. And I think then you would probably delegate somebody to find out the dollar amount that they're willing to work for.
Right, have their opening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna recommend council, each of you write down your personal question you would like to have answered. Okay, and then we'll craft 3 or 4 more as a council.
I thought Mike
Where's
said
that
that Lisa had
list
already come up with a whole
done
bunch of them.
I'm taking everything open at this point, Tracy, okay? Because just.
Ron, can anybody say anything to you without you snapping at them? It would be really helpful if you could find out a little bit.
So can we see your questions and then maybe we can add some of our own?
You certainly may, if that's
Well,
what
thank you.
what you want, Counselor. I think
So-
Lisa can put them up on the screen.
Yeah, so
Well, I mean, can you email them to us because on the
Well,
screen?
Could we perhaps start tonight with the list that Lisa's put together, and we can all look at that together tonight? But then perhaps we have until end of day tomorrow or end of day Friday for us to all email individually Mike and Lisa with what questions we have, and they can compile a short, reasonable list of questions that can go out to the candidates.
I would think by end of day Friday.
Yeah,
would be
so
the
that we
best.
have time to
Yeah.
submit whatever questions we have in mind, and then we can essentially say, hey, Mike and Lisa, you work together, we direct them to narrow it down to a set number.
Or I have another suggestion that we submit questions for the week and then we post and have another meeting Monday to narrow those questions down and we just work on that. I don't know, or Monday or Tuesday or whatever works in our schedules. Lisa?
So I have 13 questions right now. The council we can go through them one at a time, and by consensus, the council can either keep it, edit it, or just nix it completely. And then based on whatever's left, the council can decide how to proceed. I do have to have packets out, by Friday. So let me share this.
So I'm gonna be able to read about Wednesday. Posting my annual assistance, yeah.
So and these questions may not be appropriate for an interim city manager, so.
But it's a starting point.
Yeah.
I mean, if we
But
don't have.
then, Mike, you have your own set too?
No, I just relied on hers.
Gotcha, okay.
I was gonna create stuff and I learned she had created them.
Well,
Yeah.
we've worked on these for many years.
Well, these ones are entirely new.
We,
Oh, are they?
Yeah, so I still have the original city manager questions on the network, but were just something I've.
can we kill the clock? To make the PDF larger.
It's the way my screen is. So the first question, how do you plan to ensure that employees and department heads consistently follow city policies and protocols? So is that something the council wants, doesn't want, or would you like to edit it?
What policies and protocols?
I like it.
Yeah.
And I think the second one goes hand in hand with that.
Yeah, I agree.
So is that a yes or a no for?
Yes.
It's a combine it with number two.
I think one is fine. I don't know that we necessarily need number two for asking number one. We're doing it for an interim position.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, no, is that a consensus for no on two?
Well, assuming no policy violation will happen in the interim.
Well, and I would assume that they're going to answer the question by the how do you ensure aspect. But
It's kind of repetitious.
yeah,
Okay, so number 3, what measures will you put in place to prevent and address any prohibited use of office for personal gain or political influence?
That almost seems like more of a long term for a permanent
Yeah,
city
I
manager.
don't like that question.
I don't think, I don't like that.
That was pretty tough.
It assumes an expectation that that's something that people, like, I would like to assume that these people are professional enough that we don't have to question.
Yeah, just say no.
Actually.
And we're also looking at people that have lots of experience in this job.
So 4. In your view, what are the key steps to rebuilding trust among staff, city leadership, and the community after a period of instability or controversy?
Keep that one, we need all the help we can
I
get.
think so.
I like that one.
Okay.
I like number 5 too.
Number 5, how would you handle a situation where a city council member is acting outside of their authority or undermining city policies?
That's a good one.
Right.
that a consensus?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking up.
The next one, how do you balance enforcing policies and holding staff accountable while also managing potential political pressures from the city council?
I think after the previous question, this one isn't really necessary.
Okay. Since I'm not hearing any comments against that, I'm gonna consider that a consensus.
Can you walk us through this?
The next one, can you walk us through your experience preparing a city budget? What strategies do you use to ensure financial sustainability while meeting community needs?
Good question.
Yeah.
Especially going into budget season soon.
But I like the second one, so if we could combine them, because
Can you tell me what it is?
can you walk us through your experience preparing a city budget? What was the size of the budgets you worked with and what was your role in the budgeting process? Do you have experience securing and managing grants to supplement city funding?
I like that one better than I like the first one.
I think we
wordsmith
need
the two
both,
together?
especially because we're.
Same. First half or the first
The first set.
part of
first
each one
sentence.
is identical.
I think both questions stay, but obviously we don't need the, can you walk us through in both questions?
Right.
That's what I mean, combine it with one or just make it one.
Okay. How do you evaluate department performance to ensure efficiency, transparency, and alignment with city goals?
I actually like that one.
I don't know if that one is for an interim or more of a long-term city manager.
All of the above.
I would think you'd still need to ask the interim that same question.
I think so too.
He or she may not be making those quote unquote decisions, but knowing how they'd answer is a big deal.
Well, we also don't know. Let's be realistic. We don't know how long this person is going to be our interim.
Next one, how do you foster a culture of ethics and integrity among city staff and elected officials?
Good question.
Hearing no other comments, I will take this. Okay. How do you ensure open and transparent communication with staff while maintaining necessary confidentiality in personnel and legal matters? Can you provide an example of how you've navigated this balance in a previous role?
Love that question.
It's a really good question. It's a keeper.
Just tell them all to be ready to spend hours here.
What experience do you have with union negotiations? How have you successfully navigated challenging negotiations, particularly when faced with unrealistic or excessive demands? Can you share an example of how you reached a fair and sustainable agreement?
Are we gonna have?
Yes,
union?
we have
Oh,
PPSC.
there you go.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that one.
And the
And then-
last one's pretty much a given.
Yep.
I think we could strike that because we get their resume.
Yeah, but resumes,
Can you tell me
Yeah,
what
but-
the last one is?
Have you served as an interim city?
No, I like
but
it.
here's where we say, okay, we've looked at your resume. Okay, tell us about X.
Right,
That's on your resume.
right.
And I like the second part of the question. How did you approach maintaining stability and order
Yeah.
while operating within the limited capacity of an interim role? Because that's
I
important.
like that. That's why I changed my mind.
Yeah.
As I finished reading it.
I have two other questions that I would add to this list.
Okay.
And they're just kind of loosely formed in my head more than something I've spelled out, but we've talked about, city council has talked in a few meetings about initiating a policy investigation into our city government. How we've operated over the last, year. So I would like to ask a question about oversight in a city manager or interim city manager position, or coordination of an investigation. Because I think this is a task that we could give to that interim city manager, especially as an outsider, as somebody who's coming to our community as an outsider. They would be a good person to, I think, serve as the liaison with the investigator. So I don't know what that question necessarily looks like, but please tell us about your experience, any experience you have in
Investigations.
investigations into government or policy investigations.
Taking a hard look at how things have operated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
And then the other is navigating hiring processes from an interim city manager position, because we do have several vacancies in our city government, both in City Hall, when we think about, we don't have the human resources position filled, we don't have finance. I know that there's a position at the library, there are a few other positions that are out there that are expected to fill. So I'd like to address that interim city manager role, because we have to authorize on a position by position basis. We would probably want them to have some experience, or at least speak to their experience in identifying which positions need to be prioritized as we restabilize. So,
I
yeah.
also, to add to that, I think it would be, I'd ask them, what kind of role have they played in their prior jobs, recruiting and retaining employees. Because that's something that we really need. If we could get somebody in here with that is strong in recruiting and retaining, that would help in all of our departments.
No, yes, Lisa.
Counselor Keating, what was that part about the investigation, navigating?
Oversight and navigation of internal investigation.
Okay.
Anyone else? Investigations is one I wanted. So, thank you.
What about, no, I think that's fine.
How's this question?
I think too, that we're going to have to factor a little bit that whoever we're bringing in as an interim is not one who we would be expecting to be our permanent city manager. So this person would be spearheading the search for the permanent city manager. And so that might be something to consider asking.
Unless they're that good, and then we ask them to apply for that too.
Well, I'm more thinking if they are coming from outside the community that they're looking at it as temporary.
General.
Yeah.
So one question, as an interim city manager, how would you navigate overseeing and addressing internal investigations involving city staff or leadership? What steps would you take to ensure a fair, thorough, and unbiased process while maintaining stability within the organization?
You nailed it.
You're hired.
Sure is.
And what was the other one?
Employment.
Employment. Can you read that again? Sorry, I was typing, so.
You're forgiven.
So Mike, do we need others? Well, the ones we have applied?
I think you might
Ability to
consider asking
relocate.
their availability and
When are they available?
timeline.
Okay.
How long are they available?
So Lisa, do you want me to ask that question again?
Yeah, let me see how many questions we have really quick.
And do they really want to
5, 6.
put up with this climate?
Right now, we have 11 questions.
So I know two of them have stated they would.
What was your?
I was gonna say, what experience do you have in recruitment and retention of employees?
While serving in an interim capacity.
Yes.
Just
Even in any
in
capacity?
any capacity.
Because sometimes they,
Hopefully whoever we get can help us think outside the box on the retention aspect.
a couple of these people have extensive experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
How soon are they available? How do they feel about residing in Lincoln?
Being a resident in Lincoln County for during the duration of
Right.
this appointment.
Okay, so the next question, in your interim capacity, how would you approach recruiting and retaining qualified employees, especially in key leadership roles? What strategies have you used in the past to maintain staff morale and stability during leadership transitions?
I like it.
Yippers.
Last question, unless somebody comes up with a different one. What is your timeline on availability, and are you willing to have a residence in Lincoln County for the duration of this appointment?
How soon and how long are they available? You're saying a
That's why I said
6 month deal?
duration of your, with your.
Oh, duration, okay.
It's okay.
I think we need to work on getting I think we need to get to work on recruiting a city manager.
Yes, but it's not a 6 month. It takes us 6 months to go through the process of how we're gonna go about hiring.
Well, so, and that's one of the things that we've got to, maybe we put that on the next week's agenda also as just.
Get that
would
process
be-
started.
Well, and there are several ways to do this, so it would just be a discussion item at that time, because then we can do,
Yes, please.
okay?
Let's get the ball moving.
That's
Right. Any other questions, council?
I'll add, there is a document out there that LOC has drafted about hiring a city manager.
Right. But
Yes.
look at that, we need to have that discussion as a group.
Yeah.
And next week would be a good time to do that. Yes, Lisa?
So would the council like to start the meeting next week earlier, since there are 3 candidates to interview?
Yes, please.
Do we want to start?
Hour and a half.
Can everybody do it? That's always been the question. Snack season.
I will be back from Corvallis for my kid's surgery appointment by like 1 p.m.
Can we confirm the availability of the candidates for next week? Before we.
How early is the council available? So that way I can,
I'm open anytime after, work.
If everything goes according to Hoyle, my last basketball day is Tuesday, so I should be available anytime that afternoon.
is it safe
I can invite you.
is it safe to assume then that all the
2:30.
council members are 4:30?
2:30.
2:30, so 4 o'clock would be okay?
The soonest I can do is 5.
5?
I'll actually,
Okay,
I don't have my schedule in front of me. Lisa, let me message you tomorrow.
Okay.
And that way, if I can be earlier, then you can reach out to everybody else and let them know, and then.
Okay.
well, it sounds like we're all okay. It's just 4 or 5, depending on what your schedule is.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I will check with Counselor Bush as well.
Okay. Thank
Yes,
you.
please. I'll just make sure.
All right. Did we cover everything on this?
And then
Oh,
I'm just making sure I've got out everything. And so would the council like the questions submitted to the applicants?
Did you get the one about availability?
Yes.
yeah.
I forgot. I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, want them to be able to have time to think about it.
And the expectation is they will answer the questions in the chair.
Okay.
Okay.
We
They're
good?
Tough ones. I like them.
Are we good?
Please be.
Okay.
So good.
All right.
Yes, please.
Reports and comments. Tonight, I'm going to start with the person I overlooked last time. I'm sorry, Larry. Go ahead.
Just
No, we want your face shining in the sun.
sunlight. Yeah.
Your head on camera.
Yeah, getting back of my head on camera. Yeah, the face back app, is that what you have now?
Here, you got it. We're just moving forward. We've had some conversation about, we've had one volunteer come back in. And so he's kind of joined back into the group, and we're all just moving forward, working alongside the East Lincoln County crew with some of the calls. Some in, some out of district. Seal Rock, we've had some of their members come up and kind of hang out for a day. And we're going to be utilizing some of the Seal Rock and East County folks during the GP shutdown to try to bolster up a little bit of our response numbers. We've had conversation with the County Fire Defense Board Chief, Tom Jackson, about just letting them know, and all the chiefs know, about what's going on. The increase in population in general is going to be an issue. And GP's kind of done some really good planning on how to break up some of the traffic stuff, but that's still, you know, looking at a 2,000 population increase that is all over Highway 20, Newport, us, the mill. So.
I'm sorry, 2,000,
And contractors,
were there gonna be 2,000 contractors here?
they're starting right now, yes. GP is following one of their largest shutdowns. Well, they're trying to break it up differently. And so their large shutdown, their outage.
Okay.
It's gonna start around the 10th and kind of finish up on the 10th, start on the 27th. They're predicting roughly 2,000 contractors, 24 hours a day. I mean, it's not gonna be, so it'll be, you know, 1,200 in the daytime and a few less at night. And so they're starting, or you've probably seen the contractors that are running around down there now, they're starting it. But it's an increased population, so we're trying to increase our numbers to have some presence with it.
I'm sorry, Chief, so contractors, like when John was given his report, he said he was a contractor, that kind of contractor?
Well, yeah, they're contracted to do different jobs. I mean, his was broadland firefighting. These are pipe fitters and millwrights and electricians.
Specialists.
Yes.
Okay.
To work on
Part of the
a
mill.
great variety of the mill, every part of the mill, yeah.
Okay.
So, but we're increasing our numbers for that. I think I kind of stepped on some GP toes with some of this information, but it
Okay.
affects our planning thought process.
Well, they put this out that they're gonna have this,
Yeah.
they've had town halls to cover it for people.
Right.
So,
I went down to that town hall. It was only about half a dozen of us. I was kind of surprised, but.
well, it was good to see the response at the school last Wednesday when we had all those teams in town.
Whoa, that was huge.
Yes.
Yeah, we
had people from Seal Rock, we had people from East County, we had people from here, we had,
Yeah, they're gonna rotating shift because it was a long day.
yes, it was.
15 teams.
Yeah, it's
The
amazing.
first time Toledo has ever won that.
It's awesome.
Yep.
It's awesome. Used to be the Reed Sport
The other good
Invitational.
response I wanted to bring up so everybody could hear is the elementary school where that power line came down and caught the tree on fire. We had immediate response from Siletz, East County and Toledo.
Yeah, Siletz was in town helping me out with some issues, maintenance issues.
That could have turned out very bad, so
Yeah,
I was thrilled to see you guys show up.
yeah, and we're working with Captain Morford out of Siletz. He's working with us, doing some training issues, getting our DPSSD rosters up and smoothed out. And so between Chief Lapoff working with me on some stuff and just plain old daily progress forward.
Good.
So
Any questions for Larry? Thank you, sir.
let me off easy. All right, thank you.
Harrison, tell us about the library.
Here you go.
You may have a few.
I can do that. Well, first off, space behind the library is really nice. And Public Works folks have been out there putting up a new fence. And carrying some benches back there. This thing tips. Gosh, I wanted it too. District reintegration is still on pace to go live on March 10th. We have test instances up and running of our Aspen Discovery Layer. That's going to be the new catalog patrons will use. The old one will still be there if anyone prefers it for some reason. I don't expect many people will. Our colleagues at the Ocean Books Libraries, Newport Driftwood and Tillamook County have been hard at work getting ready because they're the ones who are going to be making the jump to our platform. So we've got kind of the easier side of that. So we'll be doing everything we can to make that an easy transition for them. So
Good.
A lot of people have two cards, you know, maybe they have a Driftwood card, Siletz card, Toledo card, so they can use every library in the county. We're going to be going down to one. That's what it really means. If you have a card at a library in Lincoln County or Tillamook County, it'll be good at all of them. So if you've got two cards, we're going to be doing that merging manually. So as it comes up, you can come to your library and let them know which card you want to merge into, and we'll move the multiple cards into one. We do now have a formal letter of retirement from Denise. She will be retiring May 1st. And that's, you know, as most of you know, since she came on board back in 2018, and has been doing amazing things, expanded our audience and our patron base and the amount of things we can offer immensely. So we're bracing ourselves for that. Internally, I do have plans for what I want that position to look like when we find a worthy successor. And I know we can't pull that trigger until we have someone in the city manager seat. But I'm doing everything I can just internally to have that round already in the chamber when the range goes hot. So I believe that's all I have, except to say, rather than go through a list of events, because we've got a lot going on. Cindy has been very busy. Denise has been very busy. Cindy is also working on having our newsletter and news blasts going out regularly. So you can check our website, of course, and sign up for our newsletter and keep abreast of library events, because we've got a lot now. Cindy has really stepped into managing the adult programs piece until we can get that role filled by someone with a dedicated position. So that's what I got.
Person, do you have, so you have an idea of what you want the vacancy to be, or what that new role would be after Denise?
Yeah.
May 1st. Do you already have that drafted out as, even a rough sense of a job description?
Yeah, I do have a draft internally. I haven't officially gotten other eyes on it. But so I haven't gotten feedback on that, and I'm still feeling out what all that will entail to move that position around a little bit.
So the interim city manager wouldn't have hiring ability without council anyway. So one of the things that, and full disclosure, socially, Denise had mentioned her retirement plan with me, and I asked Harrison to speak a little bit on it tonight, just so that all of us were receiving the information. But one of the things that I'm a little bit concerned about is with the amount of time it might take to recruit somebody for this position. How big of a gap does Denise's retirement create at the library for you? And would it be in our best interest to try to support you from a council standpoint in getting a job description out there as soon as possible? How urgently do you feel like you need to fill that gap?
The sooner the better, of course. Denise will be leaving in May, which is moving into our summer reading program season. So what she's working to do now is to get that summer reading program ready to run so that events are booked, planned as much as possible, so that when we can onboard somebody, they'll pretty much have their first summer tutorial mode planned. They just have to run it and
Like the
pick up the slack, and then they'll be prepared for the following season. But she will be staying on as a volunteer. She does plan to do that for story time and for some other things. Of course, we don't want to take advantage of her in well-earned retirement. Yeah, if we could get that, if we can get that gap as narrow as possible. I'm not sure what that looks like, what we can do, but
So if Harrison, I'm asking this to council, but if Harrison is able to put together a proposed job description for what that position would look like after May 1st, can we help to move that along and get that job posted? Because again, the reason why I asked was also because Denise had shared with me that urgency around the summer reading programs and stuff like that, how quickly that comes after retirement. So
Less than 3 months away.
yeah.
Time to recruit, time to interview, and the sooner we could get on our Lisa.
Yes, Lisa.
And just so the council's aware, when Harrison was talking to Cindy and me earlier today, was it today, yesterday? This week, we were under the understanding that he was going to consolidate 2 positions into 1. So we did talk about a process that was going to need to go back to the union because that position is not in the salary schedule and it's something that's going to have to be approved by council. So there is going to be a process that's going to involve several steps. So it's not going to be something that happens overnight, but there will be some steps involved.
I've gotten as far as to know that this is a machine with enough moving parts that I don't want to stick my hand in it just yet. I know that there are other conversations that need to happen in order to know what can happen now, but as much as we can get done in advance, I would.
What can we get started now to help move this along? Like what do you need to move, what do you need to move this?
And I guess that would be.
We need an interim city manager because they are the ones with the authority to do the personnel matters.
And if it takes us a month to get somebody in place, how does that?
It states a month.
But even with the union thing, I don't think we can do anything before that, can we?
But also,
The attorney.
and also too, the position is not technically vacant. So I don't know if we can post that. And our CBA requires.
Passport check. We are not to be involved.
I'm sorry.
It's, I didn't hear Lisa.
Yes.
So the city manager is the position who oversees all the personnel matters. And Denise's role for any role right now is currently not vacant. So posting for that vacancy, I don't know if we can. That's where it falls under the attorney to advise us. But also too, per the collective bargaining agreement, there is a certain amount of time that we have to post a job before. And I don't know if we can post it when it's not vacant. That's.
Mike was shaking.
I would say no.
Even
I was told they couldn't do mine.
And then you've got to get the union to buy off on the position.
What happens if Denise decides not to retire? I mean, there was a time when Judy Richter was supposed to retire and she stayed on 2 months after
Right.
her original retirement date.
We didn't blackmail her or anything.
Any other questions for Harris? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Chief Pace.
So just to follow up on his coattails, so Colton's last day is today, first dispatch is concerned. So at least we have one dispatcher, Wendy, and then Katie's working on a limited basis. She's helping tremendously with training the contract dispatchers that we have. And providing some of their assistance as we go along. I've got 2 patrol officers that are in backgrounds, and I need to be able to provide them with a letter of what is it? And I slipped my mind.
Conditional job offer?
Conditional job offer, so we can move on with their process. So is that something you guys are able to allow me to do? Because I need to hire them as soon as possible, because we need to get them to the academy as soon as possible, so.
Yeah, I think so. I'd make it a formal decision and bring it back as an agenda item.
And then also, after they've completed the psych, the medical, and the background, then I'd like to hire them. So I'd like to have that authorization to do as well. We've got one individual, so they're gonna be going on paternity leave pretty soon. Actually, after tonight. And so that leaves us down to 4. So if we can get more people in as soon as possible, it takes 16 weeks to have that 16 weeks of the academy. So they're not gonna be full-time by themselves until 32 weeks out.
Yep.
The sooner we can do that, the less stress it is on officers.
Yep.
So appreciate that.
So Mike, can you bring that back to us next Wednesday?
What Mike you're talking.
We have to put it on the agenda for Wednesday.
Okay.
Oh, this month.
Yes, is there,
Yeah, I don't know why you can't have a council action request form next week that delegates authority
Right.
for Chief Pace to give the conditional offer letter and.
why can't I just make a motion now?
Hire
and we vote
someone.
on it now?
You
Yes.
probably could. It's not on the agenda, but.
Right.
I'll motion for it now. I move to authorize Chief Pace to make a conditional offer of employment to, you know, like,
Is candidate?
to your candidates and authorize you to sign those things. I mean,
And hire them.
and hire them.
And I was saying, bring it back because 2 years down the road, if we brought it back as an agenda item, it's something you could look up.
That-
Just for a record stamp, she likes that better.
But that means we have to wait another week.
It's fine if we wait another week, they're still in backgrounds. But I'd like to get it done as soon as possible. 1 week would be sufficient of time for me to do that.
Thank you.
But I appreciate the expedition on that.
Next week then.
Next week.
So just, and then I'd like to continue my report. So we have a launch date of March 12th for WDCC to take over dispatching services.
Good.
And then also I was able to, so that'll take care of our CAD, with the computer aided dispatching. And so our RMS, which is our report management system, we have a launch date of that week as well. So we won't have our MDCs in record until a week afterwards. There were some questions about computers that we're going to use. We're going to be compatible with Tyler and the RMS. We got that resolved, and so we're going to move on. Public Works is going to install a phone outside of dispatch, the main door, so that way we would be available 24 hours. They can pick up the phone and call, reach directly to WBCC. You'll be seeing a press release from me in conjunction with WBCC soon. And hope that the city council will support that positive message going out as far as dispatch being taken over by WBCC. I know they're very concerned about it because of the issues when they took over Lincoln and the problems that caused. So I've got dispatchers from Seaside, Astoria, CCOM, and WBCC have been contracted to work to fill those holes for us in our staffing. And I'll be sending out a letter to each one of those agencies on the window that they have helped us tremendously. So I am asking for both yours, publics, and other entities, patience, because these are people that are very professional, but they may not know the nuances of our department.
Right.
So they may not get it, the way we do it, but they get it done the way their organizations are. Other than that, that's all I do.
You can call box and phone or Justin has.
Any other questions for Chief Pace?
I'd just like to fully stress what they said as far as those folks that are stepping in for us. They have helped us.
You need to come up, state your name. Public record. It's not.
I understand. Katie Pentel, Communication Supervisor. I just wanted to jump on what Chief Pace said about those that are coming in to help us. They have been instrumental on 911 services and our dispatch still being available to the citizens and our officers. It is challenging, to say the least, to come in, even if you have the CAD experience with our CAD system, especially those that do not, to learn the area, to not know the area at all, to walk in blindly. We need everyone's patience, our patience, our officers' patience, the community's patience. They are doing a service to us that is, we can't say thank you enough. So just jump on that and say, they truly have done a wonderful thing for us, and it's been difficult, but it'll get us through, hopefully. Thank you.
That's the heart of dispatch, isn't it, Katie?
Do it.
It's the heart of dispatch.
Heart and blood, sweat, and tears.
There you go.
Right. Brian.
Well, first off, Public Works has been busy. They did a great job preparing for the freeze and anticipating something worse. Thankfully, it wasn't horrible. We had a couple hiccups. The chain on our sander broke on day one. Fortunately, Jeff and the crew were able to scrap together parts. I think it was a 24-hour turnaround to get it fixed. In the meantime, the county assisted us and did some sanding on our main areas. So that was greatly appreciated. So in the last couple of weeks, the guys, our folks have been busy. They replaced the hydrant on Southeast First Street. Route maintenance, like I mentioned, prepping for the freeze. Daily work orders, blow offs, regulating our water systems, get the sediment and burping the lines. Rebuilding benches at the library in Arcadia Park. As Harrison mentioned, there's some fencing going up in the back of the library. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Go check it out, if you get a chance. Manhole inspections. Storm drain installs at Nye Park. They put a riser on it, so it's more ground level. It used to be concaved. Declare blow off on Northwest Fourth Street. Obviously, the street plowing. Exercise the bypass pump that's currently on Ammon Pump Station. Some tree removal on East Slope in preparation for the storm. Also, our flow meter on Wagon Road, booster station had a repair done. Let's see here. Lions Park, if you folks haven't gone, check it out on Southeast Tournament. It's gorgeous. There's been assistance from Angel Job Corps, like I mentioned before, their masonry group. They're doing a phenomenal job. It's excellent. Street sweeping has been picking back up after the freeze. Locates were called in for Lincoln Way and Skyline signage, and there was a double check. It was 6 is the potential in the current, and we will put the 25-mile zone signage in, at least for the time being. So then it's posted. Peace of mind right there. The Ammon Road variable frequency drive on pump number 2 had been removed because it took a dump on us. We sent it out for rebuild because it's actually heavily dated and archaic. So we had to send it back east to have it rebuilt. Quick turnaround time, got it installed just in time for the variable frequency drive on pump number 1 to go out. So it has been sent out for repair also, but we do have number 2 currently working, and we have the bypass pump on standby in case something should happen. Again, I'm just gonna drive home. My folks have been busy and they've been doing a great job keeping the roads clear, the storm drainage clear, and trying to get ahead of the 8 ball.
Yep. Any questions for Brian?
Yes. On the sturt event tree cutting, I see that you have some more marked with green X's. Are you gonna be taking those down too?
Sturt event tree cutting.
Not sorry, East Slope. Sorry, East Slope.
What about it though?
There's more trees that you guys have marked. Are you still planning on?
Yeah,
taking those out?
eventually, yes, as time and resources allow. Perfect. There's a lot to be done still, but
I was just wondering if it was just stopped because the ice storm wasn't as bad, or if you were still intending to take.
the weather got too inclement, too cold, and it made an unsafe situation for our guys to be out there falling trees and whatnot. So Jeff called them on.
I got. Any other questions for Brian?
Thank you.
Hold on. Stu, come up.
Okay. Hey, Brian.
Hi, Stu.
The railroad crossing down there looks like it's had an accident. Are you in communication with the WP about that?
There's been no, I have not been informed, but I did see that somebody plowed through the railroad arm there by little cobblestone still on.
Yeah, with 2,000 new people coming to town, that might be a problem.
Look like snowplow.
But that's the railroad's
When did that
responsibility, right?
happen?
It happened yesterday evening, I believe.
Oh.
Anything else?
Come that way.
Lisa?
Not much to report tonight. I do want to let the council know that, recently I was contacted by, actually, I reached out to Elaine Howard, who's our consultant for the Urban Renewal District. And realized that we had an annual report that we needed to post on our website, notify the taxing districts and put in the newspaper. So that needed to be done by March 1st. That's, the publication has gone out. She's assisted with notifying the taxing districts. So we've paid that invoice and I've updated the website with the Urban Renewal Agency information.
Again.
Yeah, and there is a spring conference in North Bend held by the League of Oregon Cities. And it'll be May 1st and 2nd. Counselor Sylvia has already asked me to register him. So if anyone else wants to attend, want to? Tracy, you want to?
Yeah, and can I get a +1 too?
I'll reach out. I'm sorry.
already registered.
Yes, and I think we've got your
We
room
got
set up,
everything
so.
taken care of. Yep.
So I will reach out to both Counselor Keating and Counselor Mix for details on what you want to attend. Fine. I think that's all I have.
Yes, Steve Bates.
Want to add to the railroad crossing, dispatch was watching and they said that, the railroad has been contacted. So they're aware of the problem, they'll be fixing it.
Perfect. I like quick response from the railroad. Don't chuckle too much, Chief. Brian?
Oh, I forgot to mention, I will be out of town at the 47th Annual Management and Technical Conference in Sun River, 3rd through the 7th.
Take your chains. Anything for Lisa? Any questions? All right, Mike?
So many.
Mayor, council, I have 4 or 5 things. Just as an update, Monday, Lori Cooper, the attorney for the East Lincoln Fire District, said that she would try to get me the draft IGA between the 2 entities early this week. I'm still waiting for it. Mayor Cross and I and Mike Pace received an email from Pierre. And, you know, I guess as background after
Mike,
talking
you're gonna need to
to.
explain who Pierre is and.
Okay, Pierre
All the.
is somebody that we have used in the past to do our labor negotiations for the collective bargaining agreement. After talking to Amanda, I had reached out to Seth to call me rather than Pierre when there's a problem with the collective bargaining agreement so that we can decide when we're going to engage Pierre to kind of cut down on the complicated stuff that we want to get him involved in. The email basically, he's recommending his services and for the TPSA. I talked to Seth. We were kind of in a hold until we get his interim city manager. Based on our complaint filed by Mike Pace while I was on vacation. On behalf of Amanda, I would totally recommend that you use Pierre for the TPSA bargaining. The trust is lacking. Additionally, while I was on vacation, copies of the 2 executive summaries related to the fire investigations were sent to DPSST in an envelope with no explanation, no return address. All of you were given the one that involved the 2 individuals, as well as Amanda, as well as the 2 individuals' attorney. The 2 individuals and the attorney have not disclosed it. The other executive summary related to fire was just given to the interim city manager to discipline that employee. So both of those documents apparently were sent to DPSST through phone conversations and some email. She got back to me today and confirmed that they have shredded them because they do not have a right to have them as their privileged documents. I guess lastly, I'd like a consensus.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did she shred those at your request?
Yeah. She asked, do you want to shred them or do you want to send them back? Or you want me to mail them back? And
So
after talking.
DPSST is choosing to ignore things that were found in those investigations that were wrong.
Their email says they do not have open files. They did not request these. We will shred them or we will return them to the city.
Because they weren't supposed to be sent anyways, because those are.
They're covered by attorney-client privilege. Crazy.
Given the nature of what we're discussing right now, are we supposed to be discussing this in this forum? Obviously, I know we need to be as transparent as possible, but we are getting into legal matters right now.
We haven't said any names.
Okay, just want to make sure.
The last thing, looking for a consensus to send the response to the tort claim notice that was emailed to all of you. The response. On the tort claim notice about the public meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought you had already sent.
No. No, today's so tomorrow is day 21. We had 21 days to respond.
So I gave you my feedback on that.
You did, and I appreciated that.
I say send it.
Okay. Thank you. Other than that, it's property line adjustments and floodplain permits and got a bunch of public works contracts that I'm gonna take with me when I leave tonight.
Any questions for Mike? All right, we'll move to council comments. Tonight, I will start with Councilor Burns.
Oh. Okay, so the other thing that I have is after our last meeting, I was talking to a volunteer firefighter, no longer on the team. And she made a comment to me, because I was just asking her about her comment, and what she had said, and what did she mean by that? And she said, well, she was talking about her upset over the mishandling of stuff. And she said, and the city, through the fire, I think this was after everybody was fired, threw a Christmas party and home-baked cookies. And I said, no. I baked those cookies as Jackie Burns skin bag, not city councilor. And I baked them for all the departments, City Hall and Public Works and the police department. And she said, oh, well, that's different. My point in bringing, pardon me? Well, my point in bringing this up is that that's just another contributing factor to the stuff that gets passed on, like, oh yeah, well, did you know this? And so just to really heighten our awareness of, there's so much more to it, kind of like a Paul Harvey, and now the rest of the story. That's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Jack.
Yes.
Andrew?
Nothing tonight.
Jackie?
Nothing here.
Frank?
I don't have much. I just want to remind everybody that Seafood and Wine Festival starts tomorrow, so there's gonna be a hell of a lot more drunks on the road, so just be mindful of the other drivers. It's, the impact is gonna be huge. There's gonna be a lot of people on the road. That's all I got.
Tracy?
Our last city council meeting was a very difficult one. We had to make a very difficult decision where we had to terminate somebody. And I was absolutely disgusted by Rod Cross's council comments at the end. He threw us under the bus and it was absolutely inappropriate. We are a team up here, and whether or not any of us like the end answers that we make, it is absolutely wrong for any one of us to throw everybody else under the bus just because we didn't like it. You're supposed to be our leader, and that was not leading. I'm just gonna make that very public,
You haven't not made anything public lately.
and I'm not gonna stop.
Good for you. Just want to remind us all that the rules that we have so adamantly adhered to over the last few months, we need to continue to adhere to those rules. If you don't know what those rules are, I suggest you speak to our attorney, our city recorder, so that we do not run afoul of those rules. Thank you. We're done.